Mr. Bristow, thank you for speaking with us. Today the panel spoke a lot about pricing volatility in the coal market. Can you tell me where you think that's going?
It's a very, very good question, and it's an evolving question as well. We've seen a lot of movement to shorter term pricing, including spot pricing. And that's partly because in a down market, people want to take advantage of lower prices fairly immediately. I think that continuation is probably going to have a pause as we see a slightly more tighter, higher price market going on. But I don't believe we're going to go back to where we were a couple of years ago of annual pricing. Annual pricing is clearly gone. I question whether we're going to get much of quarterly pricing. We may well see a hybrid of longer term pricing, quarterly, monthly, with spot as well, spot index pricing. So people can buy some of their coal on a longer term and then flex the shorter term with additional contracts. So therefore they can get advantage of the best of both worlds. You know, they've got the advantage of the longer term stability in price and can take advantage of the shorter term opportunities in the index or spot market.
Thank you. And speaking of Europe, can you tell us, do you think that Europe is headed for a recovery and what the implications are for steel and met coal?
Yeah, I do, but it's going to be a mixed recovery. If we look at the wider part of Europe, we've got two parts. We've got the northern Europe, which is the Germany, Scandinavia, and the southern, the Italy, Greece, etc. Most of the steel actually is made in the northern part, places like Germany and everything else. We are going to see a recovery in that area. I think we're starting to see it already. So as we go into the latter part of 2013 and then into 2014, I'm expecting the Germany, the Scandinavia area to pick up. UK is doing well as well. The issue is going to be is whether the southern Europe will follow. That's the Italy, the Spains, Greeces and so forth. That is going to be a much slower ask. There are some very, very tentative early signs in places like Spain, but we'll need to see those firm up, really to have the whole of Europe becoming collectively in recovery. But I think in answer to your specific question, yes, led by the north, much stronger in the north, dragging the south probably a little bit behind the signs. Now, what that means for coal, with a lot of the steel being made in the northern part there, that means that the coking coal consumption should then move back to more normal levels that we saw a few years ago. But it'll still be lower overall as a whole because of the weaker southern Europe.
And for the world in general, where do you think the biggest driver for coal will come from? Will China continue to dominate the market?
It's timing. If we look at met coal, and thermal coal, which we can do if we talk about China, then the short term is China. The demand that you'll see for coal in China is very strong. If we broaden it, India's been importing a fair bit of thermal coal, but its growth in met coal has been much, much weaker because of the weaker economic growth that you've actually seen over the last couple of years. So if we take the timing, China is clearly the driver today, in the near term, into the medium term. Longer term, we're going to see other countries begin to add to that. We will start to see Southeast Asia, we will start to see places like India coming back up as growth recovers 2015 onwards. And then we have all the other areas like South America, which will be consuming more metallurgical coal, Middle East will take some more met coal, etc., etc. So yes, it's China in the short term, but longer term it becomes more geographically diverse.
Great, thanks very much for speaking with us.
My pleasure.